Hey guys, and welcome back to the 411 on Tech. Today we're going to bring you our part 2 video of our modern and retro game room tour. The last time we showed you all of our consoles running, and in today's video we're going to show you how they're hooked up and how we get all the old consoles displaying nicely on an HD television. And at the end of the video we have the surprise part of the game room that we're going to show you, so we're going to get into it right after this.
Here, as you can see, we have our consoles, we have our retro and modern consoles, and all the cables for these systems we have routed through this wall here, and we have some cable management cutouts as well to help with that. And that goes back to an unfinished area of our basement, which is actually convenient for this situation. And we have a wire rack that we just got from Target. It has a couple of shelves, and that's where we house all of our video switches, our power strips. Our gaming PC is back there. So what's really nice about that is it keeps this area neat and less cluttered, because trust me, the cable management is already crazy enough. If we had to find room for all that stuff on this side of the wall, it would be chaos.
Control, yeah.
So to kick things off, let's start off with talking about our beloved RGB SCART systems, we'll call them. So those are our NES, SNES, and our Sega Genesis. Now, you might be wondering, what's RGB, what's SCART? So if you haven't already, make sure you check out part 1 of this game room tour. There we talked about a lot of stuff like Damien mentioned. We talked about our system, we showed our different areas, but we also talked about SCART cables, what they are. Basically, SCART cables are what allow us to output RGB from these systems. So when you think about connecting these systems to your television, you're thinking composite or RF signal cables, which, you know, that's what we used when we hooked them up to our CRTs back in the day.
Yeah.
But the problem with those is all of the video information is being sent through one single cable. So, you know, you're not going to get the best signal out of that. Whereas with RGB cables, the signal for red, green, blue, and sync are all separated out into their own separate signals. So with that, you're going to get a much cleaner, sharper, good picture. So that's a very simplistic explanation of all this, just so you understand kind of why we're doing this and what it all means. But if you want to go down this road like we did, trying to get the best picture out of your retro game consoles, nobody does it better than Bob from Retro RGB. He has a YouTube channel, and he also has a website, retrorgb.com, and we'll link everything that we're talking about in this video down below, so make sure you check the description. But he has an RGB guide on his website, and it literally walks you through everything step by step, how to get set up for each system. And what really got us is he even shows images of what, you know, stuff looks like with composite versus what you can get with RGB. And it was really mind-blowing. So then it got us to go down this journey. So definitely check out Retro RGB, and as we mentioned in our part 1 video, My Life in Gaming. And they have a YouTube channel as well, and they have the whole RGB Masterclass series of videos. So those were our 2 main sources that we went to get an understanding of all this and get everything set up. So back to the systems. So the SNES and the Sega Genesis are already capable of outputting RGB. So all we had to do for those is just to get SCART cables for those systems. Now the NES, as we mentioned in part 1 as well, that we did have to get modded with the Tim Worthington NES RGB.
Yeah, NES RGB.
NES RGB mod. And so now that outputs RGB. So all those systems, all 3, SCART. So we don't have to keep switching back and forth depending on what system we want to play. Those go into our G-SCART switcher. And as the name applies, it's a SCART switcher. Now, SCART switchers, SCART cables are not easy to find. The US, they were never really utilized. They were more in Europe and Japan, and they use those to, you know, output RGB and other signals as well. But where we get them is, so a lot of retro gaming communities out there, they make these things and different, you know, the mods and all that kind of stuff. So we get them from Retro Access.
Retro Access,
what's
yeah.
their name now?
She makes the cables, and, you know, she makes really good cables, and, you know,
yeah, you
top
can
quality.
get different
lanes
lanes for all the various,
yeah.
you know, systems. So that is our source for cables. And then for the G-SCART switch, we get that, well, now you can get it from Castlemania Games. And it's a little pricey, but it's well worth it. So what's nice about the G-SCART switcher is it's 8-to-2, so it has 8 inputs, which we only have 3, so we definitely have room to grow. And it has 2 outputs, and you can simultaneously display to both outputs at the same time, as you can see.
Yeah, so this one,
as you can see here. So that's really nice. So somebody's playing over here, and you can also see over here. So, and then auto switching. The best part about this switch is it automatically switches. So we're playing SNES, we can turn that off, flip on, put in a cart, flip on the NES, and NES, it'll automatically switch to that. So no button pushing or anything like that. And again, that's very convenient, especially since we have everything behind the wall. And so the G-SCART switch then connects to our Framemeister. Now the Framemeister is a digital upscaler. So basically what it does is it takes the analog or digital outputs from these retro systems and it upscales the resolution of those. So usually it's 240p, 480i, 480p, and then it upscales them to an HD resolution that goes out to the TV, and it gives a very digital, clean image. So that's pretty much what the Framemeister is. It's not easy to get. The more, I guess, readily available one is the OSSC.
Yeah.
I think there's
a
also
scaler,
the RetroTink.
The RetroTink 5X, yeah. So the Framemeister is an upscaler, and then the OSSC and the RetroTink, they multiply the lines to get the image looking better. So a little different, but those are the ones that get your old system's output to like a modern television.
Yeah, and I mean, all TVs for the most part, if not all of them, have built-in upscalers. But the upscalers in HD TVs, they really don't know how to handle
240p
the resolutions, the lower resolutions of these retro consoles. So when they do output the signal, it's not the greatest image, and it also introduces more lag. So definitely, if you want to get the best picture out of these systems, you kind of need like a line doubler or
an upscaler like the Framemeister.
Yeah. And then, since we mentioned the BVM again, so this takes BNC input. So from that company again, Retro Access, we got a cable SCART to BNC, and that has red, green, blue sync, and then it also has left and right audio all together with the same cable. And then so that goes into our second output of the SCART switcher, and then out to the TV here. And then again, we can display at the same time.
Yeah, out to this monitor, and then the audio goes out to the receiver over there.
Yeah.
Those RCA left and right audio.
Yeah, so that's how we have our retro consoles hooked up and how we're getting the best picture out of them. And now we can talk about our components.
Yeah, so for component, we just have our 2 Wii's hooked up via component, and it's my Wii and Michelle's Wii, and we have our game saves on there. So we have a non-powered component switcher, and we're going to upgrade to a powered one, again coming from the same maker of the G-SCART switch. They make the G-Comp switch, and that has the automatic switching and produces a nicer, cleaner image. So we have that on order from Castlemania Games. So when that comes in, that'll be nice, and it'll be powered, so there's no signal degradation. Yeah. But those are the 2 systems we have via component right now. There's other systems that we could do components, so because it's like 8-to-2, so we could have 8 systems.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of stuff RGB and component, like RGB's a really nice signal. Some systems really look good in component as well, so it'll be nice to have that option as well for more expandability.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to move on to our HDMI systems, and Michelle will talk about those.
Yeah, so our HDMI systems, we have our PlayStation 5, Xbox, we have, as we mentioned in our part 1, the N64 is modded. It has Ultra HDMI mod, so that outputs to HDMI. The GameCube has the Eon HD adapter, so that outputs to via HDMI as well. And then all our PS3s, PS4, Xbox. So and
the mini consoles.
And the mini consoles.
Yeah.
And then we also have the gaming PC back here. So to get the best image out of our next gen consoles and our gaming PC, the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X, and the gaming PC are all directly connected via HDMI 2.1 directly to the TV. So we can take advantage of 4K at 120 hertz refresh rate, the ALLM,
Variable
VRR,
refresh rate,
all that good stuff.
EARC. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's those, and then everything else, because we have a lot of other systems, they go into an HDMI switch. We'll link it down below. It's TE Smart, and it wasn't easy to find one with this. So it's 16:1, so 16 inputs.
Yeah.
It's even rack mountable. I mean, this thing is.
It's got Ethernet. It's got all kinds of stuff on it.
Yeah. And it has auto switching. So again, the biggest feature is auto switching. So we have all these systems hooked up, ready to go. Everything auto switches. You don't have to hit any buttons. So like I said, they go into that switch, which right now, if you've been counting along, we're out of ports because we also have the Vizio hooked up to the EARC port. So the HDMI switcher goes into the input of the Vizio soundbar. And we're trying to get a better solution for this. We do have a little, let's see, I think I have it right here. We did find a little 2-to-1 HDMI 2.1 switcher. And we've kind of been using that, but we want a better solution. So
we're probably going to get a receiver. So back in 2020, when HDMI like 2.1 kind of just hit the market, you had the next gen consoles. The chipset and the receivers weren't handling the HDMI 2.1 signal correctly. People were getting like black screens when they hooked up their PlayStation 5 and Xbox to those receivers. So when MediaTek made the chip and they didn't get, I guess, quite the right spec from the game consoles, and there was a lot of problems with those receivers, and people were getting like $4,000, $4,500, $5,000 receivers, and they weren't be able to play their next gen consoles on, even though they're marketed as HDMI 2.1, and those receivers only have one HDMI 2.1 input
and a
receiver. So we didn't get a receiver at that time, and we wanted better sound, so we went with the soundbar. This soundbar has two inputs that are, they're not 2.1, but that allows us to have more inputs for the older stuff, and we're out of 2.1 inputs on the television. But it would be nice to have everything going to a nice HDMI 2.1 receiver. So we're looking into that. Now, once again, we do have the other systems over there, so we're just trying to do it logically and figure out how we're going to get everything. May just leave some stuff over here and then have stuff going to that television over there with that 2.1 receiver, but then we need a 4K panel over there. So we're just trying to figure that all out.
And we could have all the systems over. I mean, with the 16 input HDMI switcher, we don't have to have stuff, but we like to play at the same time and play separately sometimes. So that's why we kind of have separate.
Anything that's not 2.1 can go into that switch because it does up to 4K. 60 hertz, but for 2.1 we need that directly connected to the television until we get an HDMI 2.1 receiver. Yeah.
And so that pretty much does it for this area. And then over here it's really simple. Like we have our original Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, our analog systems that we talked about in the part 1 game room tour video. And they just go in our Sony receiver. And we also have a 5-to-1, but it's kind of we're in transition.
It's in flux. So right now it's like a 3-to-1, but we're gonna get some new tower speakers that are a little bit slimmer because my old ones were like big, like 16-inch woofers on the front, and they're just not fitting into that space. We're also gonna look at getting a new entertainment center, maybe save some space there. But in the back, now that we have this couch, we're gonna need to get in-wall speakers for the back speakers for that area over there. So that's kind of in flux right now, but we're going to get that done. So this is kind of what we have going on right now.
Yeah, so that's it. That's how we have everything hooked up, ready to go, ready to play, and trying to get the best image possible out of all these consoles. So now we'll move on to our little surprise area. So let's head back here.
We're going to head back there. Okay, so this is the big surprise, guys, and you may have picked this up from some of our other videos when we wear like our racing shirts and everything, or car shirts, that we're big race fans, big car enthusiasts. So what we have here is a 5 Degrees of Freedom motion simulator for driving and for flight. So it's kind of in the process of still trying to get to the final form, where we're constantly going to be upgrading, but I'll just go over what we have here. So it's 5 Degrees of Freedom, and we'll put up what bodies in motion and degrees of freedom, but you have like pitch, roll, yaw, heave, and all of those things that you would need to simulate driving a car. So what we got is the company is called PT Actuator. It's the company that makes this motion system, and they, you know, we did a lot of researching because some of these things can be like, you know, in the tens of thousands, and this was one that was in our budget that offered, you know, all of what we wanted at a price that was good for us. Still not inexpensive, but you know, it's the best that we found for our budget. So you have like the actuators at the corners, and you have a traction loss actuator, and then you have a thrust actuator. So from here to here is all from the PT Actuator. Now we had to source the aluminum from a company called 8020, but PT Actuator gives you like the pieces that you need. Now some of the stuff does come in the kit, like the brackets for the actuators, the capacitive cups for the bottom of the actuator, like these traction plates, but we had to get some of the aluminum source. We had to tap some of it. So there's a YouTube channel, actually a YouTube channel called Sim Racing Garage, and he has a guide on how to put this all together. And so we were following that along with the instructions and a couple like of the CAD drawings that we went to Fusion software to look at how to put this all together. And it took us a little bit of time, but we got everything all together, all the electronics, everything is hooked up, everything is measured correctly, so there's no binding or anything like that. And then from here up is the SimLab P1X racing cockpit that just sits on top of here. So with this system, it does set up kind of high, but once you're in it and driving, you don't really notice it. We have a Sparco EVO S racing seat, and it's like a real racing seat. This one is fiberglass. The carbon fiber ones are more expensive. And these come in different sizes. Me and Michelle are both narrow, so
works for us.
Yeah, it works for us. We have a Bodger emergency stop. And so if things are getting out of control, we can stop the motion. I've seen some people get thrown out of their motion simulators.
In this incident, you want to hit the red button.
Yeah, you want to hit the red button to stop it. We have 1440p triple monitors, and we're going to have little, I guess there's some kind of plastic bezels to make it like a bezel-free, so it like looks like one big monitor. So this we have going on now, and those are connected via DisplayPort. Now the computer powering all this, there's a Founders Edition RTX 3090. We have 32 gigs of memory, and it's a 9900K CPU. That's what's powering it. We also have the ability to do virtual reality with this, so the Sims that support VR get that extra immersion. We have a HP Reverb G2, and it's very comfortable, and the resolution is very good for racing in VR.
Yeah, you really feel like you're in the racing seat.
Yeah, you can look all around. You can see all the instrumentation of the race car. It's really nice. So we have that. And let's see what else. For right now, I have the Thrustmaster T500RS. I've had this wheel and pedal set for a while, but I'm going to upgrade that to a Fanatic. And the Hussenveld, I hope I'm saying it right, pedals, where you can adjust the pressure of the pedals for different types of race car. And it's going to give you that feel. One of the things with simulating driving is that pressure on the pedal, and you're going to want what's a load cell pedal, and these are potentiometers. So with a load cell pedal, the more pressure you put on the pedal, the more brake pressure. Right now I have a potentiometer, so the further you push the pedal, the more brake, and that's not natural. Now you do get the heave of the car when you hit the brake, so that helps a little, but I'm really going to look to upgrade those pedals, and that's going to give me a better feel and hopefully equate to lower lap times.
Yeah, and then we also want to get, they call them butt kickers.
Yeah, like haptics for it, so you can feel the vibration of the transmission, the engine, and the road. So we're going to get those haptics hooked up to it.
You can get mounts for those. What's nice about the profile is like you can get pretty much mounts to mount anything you want to it, anywhere on the profile.
Yeah.
And then we also want to get, and we already have the mounts for them, is like a 5-to-1 kind of like
speaker system, so you can hear that.
Right now we have a little cheap Dell.
Yeah, 2.1. Sometimes, like, if I'm racing, like, you know, against other people, I have my headset on with the mic.
Yeah.
But when we're not, we're just racing for fun, you know. want that 5.1 so we can hear the engine. Now we also want to get a handbrake so we can do a lot of rallying stuff. So we're going to get a handbrake so we can do all the nice rally stuff. So that's going to be added to the system.
And we also have a HOTUS. We don't have it hooked up yet, but to do all of our
Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is also going to be done in VR.
Yeah, what's the Star Wars?
Star Wars Squadron. Yeah, so we'll be able to do all that with the motion. So, that's really nice. And we added like a foot plate here following Sim Racing Garage. So when you get up in here, you can step down, and we'll show you that, guys, in the B-roll.
We did that all by ourselves. We're just techie people. We're not.
Yeah, we had to do the measurement. We had to drill holes. We had to do precise math and then line it all up. So, this is our motion rig. Now the seat is fully adjustable to slide. It's a fixed back, but you can slide it back and forth. And same with the pedals, slide it back and forth. So different drivers of different sizes can get in here. So
and then we have this nice monitor stand, which also came from SimLab, and then it has obviously 4 monitors.
Yeah, the quadruple monitor stand. So usually at the top and running like telemetry and that kind of thing, and then here, racing on the triples, and it's a really a lot of fun. Yeah. The SimLab P1X, if you guys don't want to do motion but just get that rig, that's a really nice sturdy rig. And the instructions are really good. I'm putting that together, and you can have a nice system for driving the racing games. It really is nice when you have like a dedicated, if you're racing like with the controller, like having like the wheel and pedal set, just that extra level of immersion, and with the motion is really nice. So that's what we have here in the back, is like another one of it's part of the game room, and we have lots of fun doing this. Like Michelle likes there's a Euro truck, and she drives like the trucks like through Europe and everything.
What's the other one? Snow something or other, yeah.
Yeah, and we also, we're just trying to figure out, like Michelle mentioned, we're going to do the flight controls, but we also need like the handbrake and the the gated shifter, the 6-speed shifter. So we're just trying to figure out how we're going to do that, and eventually we're also going to upgrade it to 6 degrees of freedom, because that's like full motion. And that's really going to help with some of the flight stuff, and like helicopters that can like hover and move like that. So a couple things that'll works for this, but it's a lot of fun, and it's a part of the game room. I want to show you guys this, and that's gonna do it for this video. But so remember to like, favorite, and subscribe. And did want to mention that a few of the items that we have in our retro gaming setup, like our EverDrive flash cards, is made by a talented guy out of the Ukraine, and also the G-Comp switch and the G-Scar switch, and Super G makes those, and he's also out of the Ukraine. So with things going on in the world today, just a spare thought for those guys, and hope everything's going to get better with that situation. But again, that's going to do it for this one, guys, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.